Far away, somewhere in the middle of the ocean, lies a fabled island which houses 4 sacred treasures. We are intrepid explorers, intent on securing these treasures for ourselves. We have packed our binoculars, OS map, and Kendall mint cake, in liqueur form, and are travelling to the Forbidden Island. This is a fantastic set-collecting co-op game from Gamewright, designed by Matt Leacock. Our job as explorers is to gather the treasures and escape from the island. But it's not as simple as it sounds, because the island is actively trying to kill us. We need to work together, using our individual skills, to shore up the island as it floods, to gather the 4 sacred treasures, and ensure that we can escape afterwards. We've shuffled and set up the 24 location tiles which form the island. Will we manage to gather the treasures before the island is lost to the sea? Or will we die horribly in the attempt? We're Mark and Tracey Norman. Join us as we take on the challenge of the Forbidden Island.
Now, the reason why we intrepid explorers are visiting this Forbidden Island in the first place is so that we can collect 4 sacred treasures, which are hidden in various temples on the island. This is the water chalice, and that can be found at either Coral Palace or Tidal Palace. And in order to collect it, you need to collect a full set of 4 cup cards. This is the air treasure, which can be found at Whispering Garden and Howling Garden. And again, you need a full set of 4 air cards with the lion figurine before you can collect that treasure. This is the fire treasure, which can be found in the Cave of Embers or the Cave of Shadows. And for that one you need 4 fire cards. And finally we have the earth treasure, which can be found at the Temple of the Sun or the Temple of the Moon, and for which you need 4 earth cards.
This is the treasure deck, where you'll find those valuable cards that you need in order to claim those 4 treasures. But also within the treasure deck you'll find some other cards which may be useful or maybe not. You might pull the helicopter lift. You can play this card at any time. It doesn't count as one of your normal actions, and this will allow you to fly your character and any other characters who are on your tile with you at that moment to another tile anywhere on the island. You'll also need a helicopter lift at the end of the game, providing you've collected all the treasures without dying, to be able to leave Forbidden Island and return home with your spoils. You might also draw the Sandbags card. Again, you can play this at any time. It doesn't count as one of your normal actions, and that card will allow you to save any tile on the island which is currently flooded. And finally, you might draw the Waters Rise card. Ooh! This is indeed bad. This means that the water meter will travel up 1 more notch, possibly meaning that next time you draw flood cards you'll have to draw more than you did last time. And it also means that any of the flood cards you've already drawn get shuffled and placed back on the top of the pile. This means, of course, that you could theoretically draw the same tile twice in 1 round, meaning that part of the island sinks forever. If that happens to Fool's Landing, or to any of the treasure tiles where there's only 1 remaining, you will, of course, die! And this is the flood deck. At the end of each of your turns, you will need to draw the requisite number of cards from this deck, depending on where the water meter is currently indicating. And these cards show those tiles on the island which are going to flood if they're currently dry, or sink forever if they're currently flooded. So for example, you might draw Misty Marsh. You'll lose that tile if it's flooded, or it will stay on the island and flood if it's currently dry. Twilight Hollow, these are standard cards. Fool's Landing is the tile that you'll be looking to save all the time, because that's the tile you need to escape the island. And then also any of these tiles with icons on the bottom. There's fire, there's earth, air, or water. These correspond to those valuable tiles where you need to go to claim those particular treasures. If they're flooded and they sink forever, then you can no longer access them. If that happens to Fool's Landing, or it happens to the second of the 2 treasure cards in any set, you die!
So we will track the level of the water on this water meter. And there are a number of different options for your starting position. We are going to be starting at normal today. So we put this little marker here. And then as each Water's Rise card is turned over, this marker will go up. And once we reach the skull and crossbones, we die.
Each of the players is assigned a type of character on the island. You can either be an engineer, a navigator, a pilot, an explorer, a diver, or a messenger. And each of these character classes, if you like, gives you an extra ability whilst working on the island. These should be chosen randomly at the start of the game. There are 2 to 4 players playing at any time, so some of these will obviously not be chosen. Now, because these cards are identifiable both on the front and the back, because they're different colours, we choose these randomly. So I will shuffle the cards and cover them. Tracy, if you give me a number between 1 and 6.
4.
Number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you will be playing as an explorer. I'll give you that card. Again, I'll shuffle them. Give me a number between 1 and 5.
3.
3. 1, 2, 3. I am going to be a diver.
So today I'm playing as the explorer, which means that I can move and shore up tiles diagonally, which is always an advantage in this game. And my little pawn starts over here at the copper gate.
My character today is the diver. Now, the diver is able to move through flooded or missing areas of the island. So once tiles are taken away and other characters are prevented from moving from one side to the other, the diver is still able to go through that section. The diver is black, and the black character starts on Iron Gate. This is shown by the little black icon in the corner of the card. Of course, it would be too easy if the island was all easily accessible at the start of the game without having any difficulty. So at the beginning of the game, you turn over the top 6 cards one at a time from this deck, and these tell you which tiles will start flooded. So for example, tile 1, Dunes of Deception. So Dunes of Deception is turned over on the board and begins flooded, which is indicated by the reverse of the tile in blue. Secondly, Misty Marsh. Misty Marsh begins flooded. Temple of the Sun. Now, it's good that Temple of the Sun is next to these other 2 flooded cards because it will make it easier to shore up later on, but it's bad because Temple of the Sun is one of the tiles which you need to access in order to gain the treasure later on, so we'll want to be saving that one as soon as we can. Copper Gate is the 4th one. Now, Tracy's character starts on Copper Gate, but it's still accessible even when it's flooded. It's only when it sinks that you can't get to it. So Tracy starts on a flooded tile. Number 5 is Silvergate. Silvergate floods. And the last of our tiles which starts in a flooded state is Twilight Hollow. And Twilight Hollow is right up here at the top of the island this time. Now, of course, the island is randomly generated each game because you shuffle the tiles before you lay them out, so any game will start differently.
So the final part of game setup is that each character is dealt 2 cards from the treasure deck. So these ones are for Mark. Mark gets air, and a helicopter lift card, which is an extremely useful card that can transport you to any part of the island, and which you also need to have in your possession at the end of the game to take you from Fool's Landing away from the island and to safety. So those are Mark's 2 cards. And these are my cards. I also get an air. And I get water.
So the game is set up, and the rules say that the first person to go is the last person who visited an island. But as we both live in the UK, which is an island, we just tend to go, you start this time. You start this time.
Okay, so I will go first. So each turn you can take 3 actions which are listed on the back of your card. You can move, not diagonally, unless your special ability tells you otherwise. You can shore up tiles that you're on or that you're next to. You can give another player a treasure card if you're on the same tile as them, or your special abilities tell you otherwise. Or if you have 4 matching treasure cards in your collection, then you can capture one of the treasures if you're on the correct tile to do so. So, I start the game and I can take 3 actions. Now at this stage, most of your actions are going to be moving or they're going to be shoring up tiles. So I, starting here, will move 1 space. I'm next to a flooded tile, so I will shore it up by turning it over. That's 2 actions. And for my 3rd action, I'm just going to move closer to the centre of the board so that I'm ready for whatever happens next. Once your character has moved, you then have to draw 2 treasure cards from the treasure deck. I get an earth and an air. Those tiles are added to my collection. I now have 2 airs, an earth and a helicopter lift. You can only hold up to 5 treasure cards in your collection at any one time. If you draw more than 5, you have to begin discarding cards, and we'll come to that shortly. Finally, to end my turn, I have to draw the number of flood cards equal to what the water meter currently says. Now we've only just started the game and we've started at normal level, which means that we are drawing 2 cards at this stage. So, card 1, Lost Lagoon, another tile that floods. And secondly, Temple of the Moon floods. Now this is not good for us because we already have Temple of the Sun flooded as well. These 2 cards together are the 2 cards that you can travel to collect the Earth treasure when you have got 4 cards. So obviously if we were to lose both of those cards, we wouldn't be able to collect that treasure and we would die. So that ends my turn and it's now over to Tracey.
Right, so this is an interesting quandary, because really I'm only going to be able to save one of these 2 important tiles. So I think the most important thing to do is to shore up this one so that we can preserve that temple and still have a chance to get the Earth treasure. And then what do you think? Shall I move to that one and save one of those 2? Because we'd still need to keep a clear path to Fool's Landing. So I could move there and shore up Silver Gate.
Yes, I think that would be a better move because it's not so important if this card goes because it's right on the edge of the board, whereas these other flooded cards are obviously towards the middle of the board and Fool's Landing, which is where we need to get to in order to leave. So yeah, I think I would move over there and do one of those.
Right.
So you've taken 1 action.
So I will move there, and because I can shore up diagonally, I can stay there, shore up Silver Gate, and that keeps an almost complete path to Fool's Landing, because if access to that one is cut off, we die!
So that's the end of the first action for you. And next
2 treasure cards.
2 treasure cards.
I get fire. And fire, that's handy. Half a set. So I will pop those 2 with my others.
And lastly, 2 flooded.
2 flood cards. What's the island going to do to us? Bronze Gate, which is where I am at the moment. That's now flooded. And Breaker's Bridge. Oh, which you're on.
Which I'm on. There we go.
Couldn't see it for a
Flood
second.
me too. There we go.
Yes, so we're now both standing on flooded tiles, but that's okay because they haven't yet sunk.
Right, so over to me, and the main priority at the moment has to be to save Temple of the Sun, I think, because that's the most important flooded tile here.
Still need a path to that one.
We do.
Don't we?
We
and
do.
All of those ones have now gone. So if we get a Water's Rise card on your turn, one of those could go, which would cut that one off.
Yes,
We'd
that's
still have
true.
it there, but again, it's on the edge of the board, so it's potentially more difficult to get to.
But also it's worth remembering that I'm the diver, so if one of these does go, I'm still able to travel through the gap that's left once this sinks,
This is
because
true.
I can travel through the water, so it's not disastrous if we lose that.
That's true.
So I think I would be tempted to move over here and save Temple of the Sun, which I shall do with my 3 moves. 1, 2, and shore up that one for number 3. So next, 2 treasure cards are drawn for me. And the first one is a helicopter lift. Now, I've already got a helicopter lift, so I will hold on to it for now, but that might be what I discard in a moment, because I now have 5 cards. So if I want to keep the next one, I'll have to get rid of one in my hand. And the next one I draw is the cup. So I think at this stage it is more beneficial to keep the cup, to go towards our collection for treasure, and to discard one of the helicopter lift cards, because I already have one, so we still have one in play. And finally, we're still on level 2 for our flooding, so we turn over 2 more flood cards, and Cave of Embers, which is one of the places that you can collect the fire treasure, now floods. And secondly, Coral Palace, which is right next to it on the board, and is also one of the locations where you can collect a treasure, in this case the cup.
Well, okay, this is where we really need the pilot to fly across the board and rescue all the things at this end that we can't get to from here.
Sadly, we don't have a pilot playing in this game, so we're going to have to make do with what we do have. But quite a lot of tiles are already flooded.
So, let's see.
You can actually save or shore up 3 tiles without moving.
I can do those 3. Shall I do those 3?
Because there's no need to move anywhere at this stage. I think probably, yeah.
Yeah, so if I do these 3... So that's that.
That's your 3 movement actions done. You now get 2 treasure cards.
So my first one is going to be the cup, which makes my 5th card. So I'm going to have to start discarding from now. A helicopter lift. Don't need it just yet. It's Mark's go next. He already has a helicopter lift card, so if he needed to, he could actually transport himself up to Coral Palace or Cave of Embers for 1 move, leaving him more moves in which to turn those 2 cards over and shore them up.
And also, once the treasure deck runs out, the discarded cards are shuffled and make up a new treasure deck, so we'll always have a chance, providing we haven't already died, to get those helicopter lifts again later on.
At the end of the game, if you don't have a helicopter lift card, you die! And now let's see what the island is going to do to us. The Crimson Forest is going to flood. And Phantom Rock is going to flood all the way down here at the bottom of the board. Now that one, because it's on the edge and because it isn't one of the temples. That one is basically expendable. The same as Misty Marsh over here, and the Dunes of Deception, and the Crimson Forest. So having these on the edge of the board, like they are, means we can focus our attention on the really important tiles that we need to get those treasures from. So we can let these ones go if it means that we've saved the ones that we need to get the treasures from.
So far so good. We've not yet pulled the Waters Rise card, which means that the flood is still relatively gentle in its increase. That, I'm sure, is soon going to change.
It'll be like buses, we'll get 3 at once.
Very probably. So at the moment we will just carry on shoring up what we can. So I am going to move 1 space up to Fool's Landing, from where I can access these 2 tiles, and for my second and third actions I'm going to save those from sinking just yet. 2 more treasure cards for me. First up is another fire card. Now Tracey's got 2 of those. We've now at this stage we have 3 air. We have 3 cups. Okay, so I think the best thing at the moment is for me to keep that fire and discard the earth card, because there's only 1 of those in play at the moment, and we'll start to collect those later on. And secondly, right,
Ooh.
so this is the 4th of the water treasure cards. So I will now have to discard, it makes no difference whether I discard a fire or a lion, because there are 3 of each in play. So I'm going to discard the fire card for now. So now I have 2 chalices and Tracey has 2 chalices. So between us we have 4, which is enough to collect the water treasure. What we need to do is to get those so that 1 person has all 4, which means we need to be on the same tile, and for each action we can pass a card to the other person. So we'll work on that next, but first 2 more areas of the island are going to flood. So 2 more cards are drawn from the treasure deck. Cave of Shadows, next to where I am, floods. Tidal Palace, right down at the bottom of the island. Now, we have a flooded Tidal Palace at the bottom of the island. We have a flooded Coral Palace at the top of the island. And those are the 2 squares which we need to access in order to get the water treasure, because the water treasure icon is on those 2. Which means that we now have to keep those from sinking and still be on the same tile ourselves to be able to pass treasure cards between each other. So the fact that 1 is at the top and 1 is at the bottom of the island is a bad thing.
We're going to die.
Very possibly.
Right. Okay, I can shore up diagonally as my special skill. So for my first move, I'm going to do that. I can move there.
Because you can move diagonally as well as shoring up diagonally.
As well as shore up diagonally, and then I can also shore up that one, which will leave you free to do those.
It would. Or alternatively, that's fine. For my 3 actions, I can move 1
and give me the 2 cards.
And give you the 2 cards you need, 2 and 3. And then we're in a position where we can collect a treasure. So yes, that might be the better thing to do.
Fine.
Okay, so that's your 3 actions. So you get to draw 2 treasure cards.
And my first one is Earth. My second one is Waters Rise. This is bad. So, when the waters rise, you take your water marker, move it up to the next level. As you can see, we're now heading for the elite level. So, from this turn onwards, we will draw 3 water cards, 3 flood cards.
So what are you going to do with your other treasure, which was the cup?
Right, so I now have 1 earth, 2 fire, 1 air, and 2 water.
And you can only keep 5.
I can only keep 5 of those 6. What do you have?
I've got
You have air, don't
2
you?
water and 2 air. I don't have an earth, so we may as well take that one out.
I'll take that one away and put it in the discard pile, and I will keep these 5.
So when the waters rise, the first thing that you do before you draw your flood cards is you take all the ones that have already been drawn, you shuffle them, and you put them back on the top of the flood pile. So if Tracey does that now. Now the reason that this is also doubly bad is that any tiles that have just flooded have the potential to be drawn again straight away before you've saved them and to sink entirely. The only way you could prevent that happening would be if you had a sandbag card from the treasure deck, which you can play at any time to save a tile. But we don't have one of those yet. So what 3 cards are going to cause our ultimate doom now?
Cave of Embers. This is bad. Misty Marsh. Now, Misty Marsh is over here, and as you can see, it's already flooded. So that means Misty Marsh will sink and be removed from the game. And this is another good feature about this game. It packs itself away as you play. So we remove Misty Marsh, it sinks, and its card also goes out of play.
So that was your second.
That was my
card.
second of the 3. Let's see what the last one is that's going to cause our sudden and unpleasant death. Bronze Gate, which is all the way down here.
So there's now the chance for me to pass the 2 cards that you need to have all 4 water cards over, because I'm adjacent to you on the board, so I only got to move 1 to be on the tile next to you. Hello.
Hello.
And now I have 2 actions left. 2 and 3. I pass you the 2 treasure cards that you need.
This gives me a quandary. Between us we have 3 air, which is the lion figurine, but we also have half a set of fire. Now, I've already got my 5 cards, so I'm going to have to sacrifice something, and I think it makes more sense for me to sacrifice the 2 fire, because we already have 3 of these and we just need 1 more before we can go and collect that treasure.
I think so.
So I think I'm going to relegate my 2 fire cards to the discard pile over here, and then take these 2 into my hand, and that gives me my full set of water cards, so I can come down and claim the little water chalice.
So that's the end of my move actions. So I get to draw 2 treasure cards. So first up are some sandbags. Now I've only got 3 cards in my hand now because I've just given you 2. So I can keep the sandbags. They can be played at any time to shore up 1 tile on the island. And that is a free action. And secondly, well, it's another water card, the chalice. Tracey's already got 4 of those, which is how many we need to collect that treasure. So I can leave that card in the discard pile. It's of no use to me at all. And finally, 3 more areas of the island are going to flood. Twilight Hollow floods. Breaker's Bridge, another one which wasn't flooded and now is. So we haven't lost any more of the island yet. Temple of the Sun. Again, we've already shored that one up, so it now goes back to a flooded state, but we haven't lost it yet. And that is the end of my turn. We're still relatively okay.
We haven't lost it yet. Yet being the operative word.
Well, yeah.
It will happen.
Okay, can you get your treasure?
Yes, I can. So, for my 3 move actions, I'm going to go 1, 2 to Tidal Palace, which is one of the temples at which I can get the the water treasure.
That's the one.
I will take my 4 cards, my complete set, and I will return them over here to the discard pile. And then I get to claim the water chalice, which I will put over here on my player card to show that I am in possession of it. It is now mine. Ha ha!
So we are now a quarter of the way towards having gathered up all the treasures. That's the easy part of the game done, because most of the island is there.
It was such an easy part of the game.
Most of the island is there. We haven't got big gaps. The water level is still quite low. Things will soon get a lot trickier. But first you get 2 treasure cards.
I do. And this time I've got... See, you jinxed it, didn't you? Waters rise.
So the water level goes up another 1 on the water meter.
So we're now up to the legendary level. If you are feeling incredibly foolhardy and you want to start at that level, good luck. We haven't done it yet.
So we've gone up a level, but we're still only drawing 3 cards. And your second treasure?
My second treasure is... I've got a fire back again. That's nice. So I'll put that with my air card. And now let's see what the island is going to do. So let's have a look and see where we are with the island. We actually have 3 temples underwater at the moment. We don't mind about Coral Palace because we still have Tidal Palace, which is not flooded. But we also have the Cave of Embers and the Temple of the Sun, which we still need at the moment. And they're both underwater. And we could lose one of them with the turn of a card.
But I will try and save those on my next turn, all being well.
Well, it depends if they go.
Let's see.
So we shuffle the cards that we have already flooded. I'll do that. They go back on top of the deck. One good thing is that Fool's Landing has not yet appeared.
Not yet.
So, what's the island going to do? Still 3 cards. Cave of Embers. Oh, this is bad. Bye-bye, Cave of Embers. So this means now that the Cave of Shadows has suddenly become incredibly important in this game. Not only is it a route into Fool's Landing, it's now the only chance we have of claiming the fire tile. The fire treasure. So that was a good first card. Let's see if I can do equally badly with my second. And I can! Oh my god! Temple of the Sun, which is one of the 2 we need for the Earth treasure, also sinks. We are totally going to lose this game. And the last one, Twilight Hollow, gone. Sunk. Unreachable.
Congratulations, you've destroyed a large part of the island in one go.
I blame you because you jinxed it by saying just now that it was all going wonderfully well.
Okay, so my plan to save those particular areas of the island that I was going to save has now changed somewhat because Tracey has broken them.
Hey!
So, the most I can do really is just to save some other areas of the island at this stage. So I'm just going to move across 1 space here to Howling Garden, and for 2 and 3 I will save
we don't need that one anymore, do we?
No, Coral Palace we don't need because you've got the water
that
treasure.
That one is now expendable.
It is expendable. That's fine. So we've saved a little bit more of the island there. That's good. Treasure cards.
Lordy.
So I get to draw 2 treasure cards, and my first one is an air card.
Oh, excellent.
So I'll put that into my hand, which means I have 3 air cards now, but Tracey has the 4th one.
Over here.
So, this means that we're now in a position where as long as I can have that card off her at some point, I can gain that treasure. And, oh look, Waters Rise. Now that is the third Waters Rise card that we've drawn. The water meter goes up another one, so we're still drawing 3 cards, but not for much longer. Now we do know that there are only 3 Waters Rise cards in the deck, and we've pulled all 3, so until these cards have gone and we reshuffle, we know that that situation is not going to get any worse. But we still need to flood 3 more areas of the island, and so Breaker's Bridge, Bronze Gate, and Crimson Forest.
Ooh,
which
Crimson Forest is already flooded.
Here. So, bloop, that sinks and that card goes away also. It is now Tracey's turn again.
I'll try not to break it this time.
That would be good.
Okay. So I need to get to you at some point, don't I?
You do need to get to me so that you can hand me over the card. And you can do that in this turn.
I can do that in this turn.
Because you can move diagonally.
Yeah. So
you can move up to Lost Lagoon, that's me.
So I can, other way.
You can move up to Lost Lagoon for 1 action, diagonally
To you.
2.
And then I can hand you that one.
Your 3rd action gives me the 4th of those cards. Now I have got 6 cards in my hand, which means I need to sacrifice 1. Now at this stage, the choice to be had, do I use the sandbags to save a tile that ultimately we don't have any tiles that are really important that need saving?
But we do need to save Breaker's Bridge because we now only have that as a route into Fool's Landing.
Okay, that's a good point.
Except for me, because I can go from there to there, but you...
But I'm the diver,
You're
so
the
I can
diver.
swim.
Yeah.
So I would suggest...
Interesting challenge. Although we're not going to get Waters Rise, so we do have a chance of shoring that one up.
We do. And we're a long way from the end of the game, and whilst we know that we need a helicopter lift to get off the island, there's a long way to go before we're at that stage.
Yeah, we might die slowly rather than quickly.
So I would be tempted to keep the sandbags for an emergency at this stage.
And sacrifice
The helicopter lift, which goes into the discard pile. That leaves me with my 5 cards, 4 of which I need to be able to get that treasure. So that's the end of your move actions, isn't it?
It is.
So now you get
Treasure cards. Let's hope for some more fire, because we need some fire. Earth. We also need that. And earth.
Yeah.
That's handy.
2 earth cards for you.
Marvellous. Okay.
And 3...
What's the island doing? Phantom Rock. Oh dear. Phantom Rock, already flooded, sinks into the water, never to be seen again. Second one, the Cave of Shadows. This is bad. We need that one. And Copper Gate, which I don't think we've seen so far in the game, have we?
I think you started the game with that one flooded, but since we shored it up, it's been quite safe.
So, safe no more.
Now, I am in a fortunate position here that I am already on Howling Garden, which is exactly where I need to be able to claim this treasure.
Awesome.
So I have my 4 treasure cards. So I will hand those in, which means that I gain the treasure from Howling Garden. I'll place it on my card so I know that it belongs to me. And that was just my first action, so I have 2 more actions because I haven't moved anywhere yet. Now I can't move over to Cave of Shadows and save it because I don't have enough moves to do that. So for number 2 and number 3, I'm just going to save those 2 yet again. Treasure cards. I have 2 treasure cards. I know we're safe from Waters Rise cards for now. Don't need that because we've just got that treasure. And a fire card. We haven't got that one yet. I have plenty of space in my hand. So I will have the fire card with my sandbags. And now 3 more areas of the island will flood. Dunes of Deception.
Oh, it goes.
That one goes away. Temple of the Moon. Floods. And for the third one, Tidal Palace. Right at the bottom of the island. Floods. Now we aren't concerned about that one particularly because we have that treasure, but we are concerned about Temple of the Moon because we don't yet have the Earth treasure. We're only halfway towards collecting enough tiles to be able to get it.
And it's the only option we have of getting it too because we've already lost Temple of the Sun.
We have. So if we lose Temple of the Moon,
we
die!
In fact, we're in the same position with Cave of Shadows. We've also lost the Cave of Embers.
Yes, we are. So if we lose Cave of
that
Shadows,
one or that one,
we die! Okay, it's your turn. What are you going to do to prevent us from dying? You can save both of those.
I can, yeah, it's fine. So if I save Temple of the Moon...
That's one action.
Go to Fool's Landing...
Because you can move diagonally, because you are the explorer.
I can also save the Cave of Shadows.
Well, there we go. That's a good thing.
That's a much better round than last time.
Okay.
Okay, treasure cards.
2 treasure cards.
Sandbags, always useful. Always useful. And another Earth. So I now have in my hand 5 cards, 3 of which are Earth cards, which is incredibly useful.
And the treasure deck has now run out, which means that the treasure deck needs to be shuffled to create a new treasure deck. And we'll do that in a moment. But first, 3 more cards from the island.
Silvergate. Ooh, that's one of the routes to Fool's Landing. Lost Lagoon. That's the other side of Silvergate. And Coral Palace. Now, Coral Palace is already underwater, so that one is now going to flood completely and sink. But we already have the water chalice, so that can leave the game, and we don't care at this point.
And it's me. I have 3 actions to take. Not much happening at the moment. I'll save Silvergate because it's next to Fool's Landing. That's always important. And I'll move across onto it for my second one, and I'll save Lost Lagoon from sinking for my third one. There we go.
Right.
2
Treasure cards.
treasure cards. Do we need that one?
We do not need air.
Because we have that treasure already. And
no!
Waters Rise. So, our water meter now moves up another notch, which means we are now on 4. So we will be drawing 4 flood cards. So the ones we've already drawn get shuffled and put back onto the top. And then because that was my second treasure card draw, we move straight to these, and I have to draw 4 of them. Now we know we're not going to lose anything vital, but something is going to go, no doubt. Coppergate. Well, yes, Coppergate is going to go because that's already flooded, so that goes out of play. Number 2, Silvergate. I just saved that. I shall flood it again. Number 3, Tidal Palace. Again, Tidal Palace is already flooded. Our island is getting smaller. And for the 4th one, Bronze Gate. Bronze Gate is currently not flooded. but now it is.
Right. Now, we need to get the 4th Earth card so I can get that treasure. In the meantime, I might as well save the remaining 2 flooded tiles and maintain my sandbags for later because that's the important one that we need to keep. So if I shore up this one, join you on this one, and then shore up Bronzegate diagonally, then that means that the whole of the island, for the moment, is not going to cause us to lose any more pieces.
And that's possible because the island is now so much smaller than it was when we started.
Exactly. So, time for treasure cards. This time I get...
Oh, look!
Really?
What have you done?
I've broken the game again.
Again.
Oops.
So, the water meter goes up another notch. Still drawing 4 cards, but closing in on 5, and the top of the water meter and its skull of doom.
Which means...
We die!
So...
That was your first treasure
Oh yes, I'll do my
card,
second
so you
treasure
have a
card.
second one, so draw that. Let's
Hopefully it'll be nicer than the first.
not disadvantage us too much if we can help it. Yeah.
An air.
We don't need
We
that.
don't need that one. I'm going to leave it in the discard pile.
Now you drew Water's Rise, so you need to shuffle those.
We'll shuffle the 2 cards and decide which order they get flooded in, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so because there was such a small gap between Water's Rise cards, because you drew one straight after me, we know those cards are going to come up. So draw them, and let's flood those parts of the island.
Silvergate, which is where we're both standing at the moment.
There it goes, right, flooded, and not quite gone, but flooded. And Bronzegate.
Bronzegate, which is right there.
Flooded. But that's only 2, and you need to draw 4. So the other 2 are going to be...
Lost Lagoon.
Oh, look, there's a little group there. Water is
Last
spilling from one
one.
to the other.
Breaker's Bridge. Okay.
There we go. So there's a lot of water around where we are, which makes it a bit easier to deal with, I guess. Right, so I have 3 actions which are mostly going to involve saving stuff, I think.
Looks like it.
I think I'll move across here for 1, and then I can save that one for 2 and that one for 3. And then you can deal with those. Right, those are my move actions.
Time for treasure cards.
Time for treasure cards. First one we don't need because we've already got that one, and the second one we don't need because we've already got that one as well.
So that was spectacularly unhelpful.
It was, and here's something else that's going to be spectacularly unhelpful as well. Another 4 island cards. Temple of the Moon. That's a bad thing because we need that treasure. Cave of Shadows. That's a bad thing because we need that treasure. Iron Gate. And Gold Gate. So we've got a bit of flooding on the edge of the island here, which probably doesn't matter too much, but that definitely does matter, and so does that, because those are our treasure locations. Okay, so over to you for your move.
Right. 1, 2, 3.
So both of those are safe now.
They are.
For now.
For now. Obviously, we are now at risk of losing one of our routes into Fool's Landing, so it means that we would need to protect Breaker's Bridge as carefully as we are the temples and Fool's Landing itself.
Yeah. But it's still looking vaguely possible. Draw yourself some treasure cards. Don't get a Water's Rise.
Do my best. First one is an air, which we don't need. The second one, another air, which we don't need. So I might as well leave those 2 in the discard pile because I already have 5 cards in my hand. There's no point in taking them and discarding stuff we do actually need.
No, because I've got that treasure.
So, what's the island up to? How is it
Sinking.
trying to kill us this round? the watchtower, which we haven't seen before. Here it is at the top.
Which, as we haven't seen it before, that worryingly means we're getting close to the bottom of here. And
Which means that Fool's Landing is going to start being in danger. Whispering Garden. Well, that's fine because it's right at the edge of the board over here, and it's also expendable because we already have the air treasure.
We do.
So I will flood that one. Third card.
Yeah.
Howling Garden, which is where we are at the moment. That also floods, and again, expendable but slightly less so because we may need it to make up the route back to Fool's Landing, which is not the case with Whispering Garden.
That's
it's
true.
too far out on the edge.
And the fourth one?
Fourth one is the Observatory, which again has not appeared, so getting close to Fool's Landing, starting to get into the flooding game.
Right, 3 moves for me. Again, it's just saving random tiles. I'll save the one that we're on. I'll shore up the one that I'm next to. And then I cannot shore up diagonally because I am not the explorer like you. I can only go laterally.
And you don't even have anywhere to swim yet.
I don't. So do I do anything for my third move? Well, I think I'll move up here just in case I need to think about doing some of these areas.
It makes sense to move some of
Yeah.
those because the more of these we turn over, the more we delay the inevitable.
Yes, yes. All right, let's see what the treasure deck holds. Number 1. Well, the helicopter lift is back.
Yay, we
I
need that.
can take it now because I've got plenty of room in my hand to do so. And there's another one.
Oh, even better.
So for now, I'll take it because I have space to hold it. I can always get rid of one of them if I need to later on.
Those are cards that can be used at any time as a free action.
That's true, so I could fly
which
somewhere to
means,
save it.
Exactly, you could position yourself in a suitable location.
I could, in an emergency, I can fly somewhere. Right,
Okay.
4 more. Now,
Looks,
how many of these, let's have a look, how many of these are left? Right, so this is where it can potentially get bad because I need to draw 4. There are only 2 left.
Oh no.
So I will draw those 2, they'll all get shuffled, and then I'll draw another 2.
And then it's literally...
We know that one of those is Fool's Landing.
Yeah.
So I could potentially draw it, shuffle it back in, and draw it again. In which case it would sink, and
we die!
But we both have sandbags, so if that happens, we can at least unflood it very quickly.
And maybe not die quite so soon. Let's
So-
see what the flood cards reveal.
And there it is.
Oh!
Actually, number 1 is Fool's Landing.
Fool's Landing gets
So,
flooded!
It gets flooded, but I have a sandbag card. And you also have a sandbag card. So I'm going to play mine now to shore it up so that if I do draw it again in a moment, it will be safe.
I've just had a thought. Wouldn't it make more sense? You've got 3 cards. Well, with your sandbags, you've got 4 cards.
Yes.
I already have 5. I'm looking for another earth.
So you're thinking that you
If
play
I
the
use my
sandbag card?
sandbags, you retain your sandbags.
Yes.
It has the same effect. I have space for the earth card without having to sacrifice my fire card.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And without having to shore up something that isn't maybe as important just for the sake of using the sandbag so they don't just go straight back into the discard pile.
Yeah, that's a good point. So
if you take back your sandbags
I will.
and put it back into your hand,
Yes.
and then I will take my sandbags,
And play it in
put it into the discard
its
pile
place.
and play it. And
So
then that has exactly the same effect.
we have saved Fool's Landing from sinking if we draw it again, but I've still got space in my hand. Good thought. Right, that's only the first of the 4 flood cards though. Flood card number 2. Cliffs of Abandon.
Haven't seen that one before either.
It's right on the edge of the board.
There it is.
So we'll flood it So that's 2. So I now need to shuffle the deck. Put it back. And draw cards 3 and 4. Card number 3. Silver Gate.
Right next to Fool's Landing.
Now flooded. And card number 4. Breaker's Bridge. I'm on it. It floods. Quite a large amount of the island suddenly has become very watery. Over to you. What can you do about the watery island?
Gosh, okay. Well, I can immediately shore up 3 things without even moving.
Excellent. I suggest you do that.
So, Silvergate, Breaker's Bridge, and the observatory are all
Again,
now
because
safe.
you can shore up diagonally.
And in fact, everything that is now flooded is all around the periphery, and none of them, apart from that one which we've already got, is a temple.
Yeah.
So all the important ones that we need are in this little group here. We can sacrifice these to buy ourselves some more time. So, in my hand I now have 4 cards. I'm going to have a look at the treasure cards to see what they offer me. And first card, fire, which we need. So I will take that. Between us we now have 3 fire and 3 earth.
Yep, you have 2 fire and I've got 1 over here and you've got 3 earth.
Now this could be an interesting quandary if I get another fire or another earth.
It could.
Because then something will have to be sacrificed from the other set.
Okay, so turn it
Second
over.
one is earth, of course. Right.
So earth goes into your hand. You now have 4
6
earth cards.
in
So you're
total.
going to have to sacrifice a fire card.
Yeah.
You have no
okay.
choice.
Yeah.
But you have 4 earth cards. So you'll be able to then go and
Yes.
fetch that treasure.
Which I'm
providing...
right next to.
Yeah, I was
So-
going to say providing it doesn't sink or disappear and we die, but it won't just yet.
So I will take this unneeded fire card and pop it in the discard pile.
Perfect. Okay, that's the good bit. Now, the bad bit.
Eek. 4 cards.
Still on 4,
Number 1. Temple of the Moon.
which is the one that we need to get that earth treasure from.
We do have sandbags. We
do
can
have
still
sandbags.
save it.
And at the moment it's only flooded, it's not sinking.
Number 2. Bronze Gate. So Bronze Gate is down here. It is now also flooded. Gold Gate.
That's right over next to me.
Gold Gate is over here, already underwater. It sinks and leaves the game.
And
Final card, Lost Lagoon. And Lost Lagoon again, already underwater. So that one too is removed from play.
the island gets a little bit smaller again. Okay, so my priority really has to be to save Temple of the Moon at this stage, doesn't it?
Yes,
So I'm going to move across
absolutely.
here for 1. My second action, I'll save that. And for my third action, I'll save Iron Gate because I'm next to it. So I might as well save it. So that's my 3 actions. Let's have a look at what treasure cards come up for me.
Fire!
So there's a fire, so I'll take that
Excellent.
one to join my fire card. So now I have 2 and you have 1. And waters rise. So over to the water meter. It indeed does rise to 5. So now we'll be
cards.
drawing 5. So if we move over to the flood deck, I need to shuffle these top ones back in. So it's a good job that I saved Temple of the Moon because we know it's going to come up again now.
Possibly even on the first turn of the card.
Possibly. Let's have a look. Nope. Silvergate first. Silvergate floods next to Fool's Landing. That's number 1. Breakers Bridge for number 2. Breakers Bridge, also next to Fool's Landing. Floods. Temple of the Moon, there it is, number 3.
Ooh.
It floods. Number 4. Bronze Gate. Down at the bottom of the island. Off it goes. And for the last one, because it's 5 now, because the waters have risen, and that was only 4, Whispering Garden. And that one is now sunk. Okay, well there's not much island left, but we're closing in on a possible victory here, I think. Maybe.
I think we're totally not, actually.
Let's find out.
I think we're going to die.
But you can now get the Earth treasure, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Because you've got 4 Earth cards there in your hand. I can see them from here.
Yep. So, would it make sense if I shore up that one,
For your first action.
move to that one without shoring it up, because I can go onto a
Yep.
flooded
Yeah, that would be your second
piece of
action.
land, and then claim the Earth
Yes.
treasure
That would be
and
sensible.
leave that one flooded.
Yeah, because once we've got the treasure, it can go and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do that. So I will shore up Breaker's Bridge, which leaves us a path, because basically it's getting so small now. Essentially, we need to be able to get from where we are to there. We need to be able to collect that one, so they're handily next door to each other. These can all be sacrificed,
Yeah.
as can that one. We've got there already.
Yeah, so that's your first action. So for your second action...
Second action, move.
Yeah, and for your third action...
Third action, I will collect up my set of 4 Earth cards.
Yep.
And I will put them in the discard pile, and then I get to claim the Earth treasure, and that will sit on my character card to show that I now possess it.
So we now have an Earth treasure, we now have a water treasure, and I have the air treasure. So we now only need fire. So that was your move actions. 2 treasure cards for you.
2 treasure cards for me.
If it's not a fire, we don't want it now, really. It's the only thing we need, apart from possibly sandbags.
You've got some sandbags.
Yeah.
Earth!
We now don't need it. Ignore it.
Fire!
There we go. Now
Excellent.
that's the best thing that could have happened, actually, because now you've got 2 fire cards.
I have.
I've got 2 fire cards. We've got the helicopter lift that we need to get off the island. We now need to pass the fire cards between ourselves until one of us has 4. Then we can pick it up, go to Fool's Landing, get in the helicopter, fly away, and we win the game. Yay, nothing can possibly go wrong.
Or we could die.
Let's find out, because it's now time for 5 flood cards.
Number 1. Howling Garden. Howling Garden. Down there at the bottom.
Now the island is now so small that I can see the island and the flood cards in one camera shot. So let's just carry on from there. Number 2.
Number 2, the observatory, which is where you are at the moment.
I am. Flood that one.
You now have wet feet. Number 3.
Fool's Landing, that's the one that we need to stay in place.
Well,
Now-
those 2 are the ones we need to stay in
actually,
place.
we haven't got the treasure yet, so that is kind of important. Number 4 then. Oh,
Cave
look,
of Shadows.
you've just flooded the other important one.
No.
And number 5.
Oops. Iron Gate. So we haven't actually lost anything on that round. However, the entire island basically is now at risk of sinking forever beneath the murky depths of the ocean.
Now, we are now in a real quandary here because we need to make sure that we keep Fool's Landing from sinking. We need to make sure that we keep Cave of Shadows from sinking because those are the 2 cards we need. But we also need to have enough actions to be able to move onto the same tile and pass the fire cards between ourselves until one of us has 4 of them. We've got to do all of that while the island is very rapidly sinking because we get 5 flood cards at a time and we only have 1 set of sandbags.
This is bad. Now you have 2 helicopter lifts, one of which we need to win the game.
Yes, but the other one we can use to move me somewhere.
Would it make sense to sacrifice one of the helicopter lift cards to move you there? Because that's a free action.
It is.
So you could save those 3 tiles.
Yes, I could. And then you're going to have to come over and join me for us to start moving those.
So if you, I think the safest thing to do is if you move to Fool's Landing.
So I will play one of my helicopter lift cards, play at any time, does not count as an action, discard to treasure pile after use. I'll play that.
Are you going to do a helicopter noise?
No, I'm just going to fly over there.
I'm disappointed.
There you go. Right, so I'm now on Fool's Landing. That didn't cost me any of my actions. I now have 3 actions left. So, 1, 2, 3. I'll save all the tiles that I'm either on or adjacent to for my 3 actions. Treasure. There's really very little in here that we need now, apart from
sandbags,
and what we don't need...
Helicopter lift?
Yeah, helicopter lift would be good. What we don't need, Water's Rise, which would be bad.
Probably what you're going to get, isn't it? No!
No, and I don't need that. And number 2, another one of those that I don't need. For now, we're still alright.
I cannot believe that happened.
Right, we've now got 5 of these to turn over. So Cliffs of Abandon is already flooded. Off it goes. Number 2. Number 2, Watchtower.
Ooh.
Watchtower is also already flooded. Off it goes. So now that's the end of the flood cards again, so we need to turn and shuffle. And now this is where it starts getting tricky because there are so few cards that you're turning them, shuffling them, putting them back out again, and everything very rapidly disappears. So everything could rest on the next couple of draws really as to what happens.
It totally will, won't it?
Alright, so I've got 3 more of these to go yet. First one, Silver Gate. That's actually fine because it's not even flooded and it's not an important tile, so that's 1 down. There we go, that one floods. 4th card, Temple of the Moon. Now Temple of the Moon is already flooded, so it's going to sink. We don't need it anymore, but you're on it, so it sinks from underneath you, and what you have to do then is to choose which card you're going to swim to. Now you can swim to any of these because you can also move diagonally, so where do you want to go?
Well, I think the most sensible thing for me to do would be to go to Breaker's Bridge. I can move diagonally. It will save me having to do extra moves. If I'm there already, I've saved myself a move to get to you for the purposes of passing cards.
I agree. So you crawl spluttering out of the water and onto Breaker's Bridge. And we've got 1 more. So for the 5th and final flood card of this round, we have Howling Garden.
Oh my god.
So we're rather fortunate there because we don't need that one. That one sinks as well.
Wow.
Okay, so let's take stock of where we are at this stage now. We've got all the fire cards that we need. It's just that I have 2 and you have 2, and somebody needs to have all 4. But Fool's Landing is safe. Cave of Shadows, where we need to go to get the fire treasure, is safe. We've got a little bit in hand because I've got a set of sandbags. Anything could happen from here, really, couldn't it? Okay, so you've got 3 actions. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm just looking at our hands. So at the moment, Mark has got 2 fire, a helicopter lift, which we need to retain for the end of the game, and a sandbags, which we also need to hang on to, just in case Fool's Landing suddenly decides that it's going to start flooding. I only have 2 fire cards in my hand, so it would actually make more sense for Mark to give his fire cards to me so that he doesn't need to discard those 2 other important cards which we need so that we don't die.
Absolutely.
So I think what I'm going to do, I will shore up the observatory. I will move onto Fool's Landing so we're in the right place for leaving the island. And I will also shore up Silver Gate. So that's my 3 actions. So we now have 5 cards to play with. 1, an expendable card. And we're both on the same tile so that next round Mark can give his 2 fire cards to me unless something really disastrous happens.
Which it could still do. So
entirely possible.
Move over to the treasure deck. You have to draw 2 of those next.
A helicopter lift.
Okay, that's good. You keep
That's
that one.
excellent, so I will hang on to that.
And
another cup.
which we don't need.
But that's fine, we didn't get a Water's Rise.
We didn't.
That's great.
Okay, flood that.
So we're still on 5 flood cards.
Yeah.
So let's see what the island does this round.
There are only 6
I was
tiles
going to
left,
say
I
there are
notice, on
only
the island.
6, so it's going to go badly in some way.
It really is. Whether we survive or not remains to be seen. Okay.
It usually goes like this, doesn't it? If we
Yeah.
don't lose very badly very early in the game, it's usually on the last turn of the card.
Yeah.
Breaker's Bridge.
Floods.
Fool's Landing.
Floods. But that's still okay
That's
at
okay.
the moment.
That's okay. That's fine. We didn't get a Water's Rise card, so we're okay. Cave of Shadows.
That's not so good necessarily because we've got 2 that we need to think about saving there now.
How many was that?
That's
3.
3.
Iron Gate. And Iron Gate, obviously
That goes
already
away.
flooded and expendable. We don't really mind about that one.
Okay,
Sorry,
and
Iron
one
Gate,
more.
but that's how it is. The
Yeah,
observatory, also not currently flooded,
Okay.
but it is now. So, that is the current state of the game. We have 5 tiles left, 4 of which are flooded, 2 of which we cannot lose, because to lose either one of those 2 tiles, Fool's Landing or Cave of Shadows, means that
We die. Right, it's now really a race against time, isn't it? To be able to get the treasure, then that can sink and we don't care about it and we can just concentrate on saving that and flying off. So, we're both on the same tile. This is good. So I can use my first 2 actions to give you those 2 cards. So you now have all of the treasure cards. So that's 2 of my actions because I've given you 2 cards. I've got 1 action left. I've got to save something. Do I save Fool's Landing or do I save Cave of Shadows? Well, we need Cave of Shadows first, I suppose.
well, you've got 2 things you can do.
The thing is,
Do we use the sandbags this time?
I've got to save both because I've just
You have
noticed
to save both.
that
That's it.
we now only have 5 cards left.
So,
They're all going to
yeah.
get drawn again.
Exactly. Either of those 2 could now, once
Yeah.
that deck is shuffled, either of those 2 could become the first card out.
Which is exactly
which means
what's-
that we
yeah.
would die.
So, for my 3rd action, I'll save Cave of Shadows.
Yeah.
I can then play my
Deploy the
sandbags.
sandbags.
There's a free action to shore up 1 tile, which means that I'll save Fool's Landing.
Yep.
Okay, because we know now that all of these are going to be drawn.
Yep.
Right, treasure deck. I think we could just about do this, but it is going to be a skin of the teeth thing.
Don't say that.
All right.
You'll jinx it.
Oh, there's only 1 treasure card left too, so they're going to get shuffled in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, so
A cup.
a cup.
It's not Water's Rise.
It's
This
not
is very
Water's
good.
Rise. Okay,
Right.
so we
Shuffle
need
them
to
nicely so that
we need to
we
shuffle
don't
these.
die. Because it would be really nice to be able to end this video showing a playthrough
victory.
of the game with an actual victory, which we've had once in the last 9 games of this that we have played.
Something like that. Yeah.
Damn
Okay.
you, Matt Leacock. awesome game designer.
Okay, so I need to draw the second treasure card. I don't care what it is as long as it's not Water's Rise. It would be nice if it was a sandbag. And it is.
Oh, God! Seriously?
This was a continuous shot. You saw me shuffle. You saw me shuffle the cards. You know we didn't set this up for.
God, I swear this game is out to get us.
You know we didn't set this up for entertainment value.
No.
That is just the worst thing that could have
It
happened.
really is.
However,
God.
that is the second card.
Yeah.
So the water meter goes up by a notch.
But we don't die
But we
because
don't
we're
die
not on the red
quite,
skull and crossbones.
And we're still only drawing 5, and we know we're drawing 5 cards.
Only.
So we are going to
drawing
make this now, because we shuffle these cards, which is irrelevant because there's 5 of them there, but it looks good. Okay?
Well, because we have to.
Yeah.
That's what the rules say.
We now draw them. Silver Gate. Silver Gate floods. That's the first of the 5. Breaker's Bridge. Breaker's Bridge sinks.
Goodbye, Breaker's Bridge.
That's 2. Cave of Shadows. Cave of Shadows floods, number 3. There we go. But that's okay because we can still move on to it and use it.
This is true.
Number 4, Fool's Landing. We knew this was going to happen. It floods. We're still on it. It's still okay. We can still use it. And the last one, the Observatory.
And the observatory is expendable.
So, off it goes. So where are we at now?
Okay.
Right, this is exciting because I think we can do this. So I'm going to film it in intense close-up.
Oh, God.
All right.
Right,
You
okay.
have 3 actions. This is all that remains of the island and it's all flooded.
We're going to die. Okay.
No, we're not. We're going to do it.
No, we're not. Not necessarily. Because we have 3 island tiles, which means that we only have 3 cards. Fool's Landing is flooded and could be the first tile out, which means that we could get every treasure and still lose the game.
No, we've got enough actions to do it before we even get to the flood deck. Look.
No, we haven't.
I think we have. Hang on. What? First action.
Oh, have we? Oh,
Yeah.
no,
First action, move to
I need to go.
Cave of Shadows.
Okay, oh God, I'm going to fall over. Right.
Second action, play the 4 treasure cards. Gain the treasure.
Yay, we got the fire.
Third action, move back to Fool's Landing. Helicopter lift card. Play at any time, doesn't count as an action. We've got all 4 treasures. We are on Fool's Landing. There are our 4 treasures. We are on Fool's Landing. We can play the helicopter card. And we fly off.
And we won the game.
And we win the game. For the first time in goodness knows how long,
Months
probably, because we play this quite a lot, we have successfully won a game. And we've won it on film in our playthrough. And we genuinely did not set that up to win, did we?
No, not at all. I think you can probably tell from my reactions to it.
Yeah, I think we're surprised as anybody else.
I'm very surprised.
So there we go. That is how to play and win by the skin of your teeth.
Literally.
Forbidden Island.
But you will see that because the island is set up differently every time, this game does have massive challenge and massive replayability, and it's really good fun. It encourages you to work together as a team, and there are so many different ways that you can die whilst playing this game. You never know which one it's going to be, and it's always fun to find out.
So there you go. Forbidden Island, designed by Matt Leacock, produced by a company called Gamewright, easily available online, easily available from your local game shop, where I would suggest that you try and get it if you possibly can to support your local business.
And it comes in a fantastic little tin, which is brilliant for carrying it around to various different places.